answer the questions in reverse order because my memory's already going. But thanks for that question. I mean, I think the main point is that the back-to-work industry, if I can call it that, in the period you're talking about, depended very heavily on further education colleges. Then there grew up a series of mainly quite small but sometimes quite large companies who made contracts with the Department of the Employment and Employment Service, which, itself went through many names and forms, and ended up being training enterprise councils, and then there was something else, and so go around it. Anyway, the government contractors to do this kind of thing became increasingly private parties rather than FE colleges. And I think, there were a few NGOs like NAPRO that's got involved, and in some cases Mind. But now what's happening is that the contracts seem to be going more and more to really big, if not multinational players, some of whom are connected to the dreaded American healthcare industry, who, when it gets booted out and fails in its contractual obligations and gets investigated for fraud and goodness knows what in the USA, starts coming over here. Some of the companies that featured in that Michael Moore film about American healthcare are actually now doing, for example, medical testing to see if people are fit for work. And they're even moving into the so-called work rehabilitation of people with disabilities. So this is a very bad scene indeed, and I think we need to be behind a sort of renationalisation and rehumanisation of those organisations and those processes. I'm also very grateful to Simone for raising some really important points that, all this workfare stuff is going to impact most heavily on the people who have been getting disability-related benefits, notably incapacity benefits, and are now being moved on to JSA as they get tested and be declared capable of work. And those conditions extend even to a lot of people who are beyond ESA, which is the kind of halfway house benefit. We really need to be watching it, and I think maybe within the Green Party we can come up with a load of anecdotes that people don't mind being publicised. This is my story, shock, horror, tell a journalist, see if we can do some good that way. Shock, horror, put it in the pamphlet, we can do some good that way. We can anonymise people if they want to be. We could also, I think, use our Green Party capacities as caseworkers to try to help people and to encourage and generate help systems for them in local areas. Because there are going to be an awful lot of people who fall foul of these rules in one way or another. Thank you.
Thanks. Alan, yes,
Also, there's quite a backlog of systematic neglect of job seekers. And, for example, and I must say that has got worse under the new welfare reform stuff. One issue is that whereas so many training things for JSA claimants used to be you had a choice of your provider, but now it's on a franchise basis via the job centre. In Barnet, Camden, Islington, and a few other places, it's A4E. At Kensington and Chelsea, Westminster, and Lambeth and Fulham, it's Work Directions, which is a company formed by the wife of the Australian Prime Minister, part of Ingias. And the provision that they have for their so-called beneficiaries is you get a free mobile phone and you get your passport for free, to help with job search procedures. You get none of that at A4E, it's so tight-fisted. But also in 1997, the Training and Enterprise Councils, as it was then, used to provide directories of the training providers, and you could kind of like have a shopping list of, with these tick boxes as to what you wanted from them. And so I managed to get a really good training provider first time round, Camden iTech, but as a slower learner, while I needed to go for more training, I was barred from going for more training because trainees were not allowed to go back to the training provider that they'd been with previously, because that was deemed as milking the system, rather than encouraging competition. And the place that I had to go to was direct computer training, where we were on sort of shifts, mornings and afternoons, alternate weeks. And they crammed 4 classes through each computer room in each day. And there the head of job search said, in order to get your benefits sorted, you must do this job search portfolio listing at least 16 job leads per week. And I even wrote Glenda Jackson about it. That looked a lot of good that did. But essentially, there was a company milking the system, and they had a graduate ask them about getting a suitable placement for her degree, which was ecology. And the job search advisor said, "What's ecology?"
Peace, do you want to?
Yeah, just a couple of things. I mean, the point about training, it is hard for training unions to organise, and you know, the things are hard.